Victor Gao joins me now from Beijing. He's chair professor at Soochow University. Victor, always great to see you.
Thank you.
Well, as we saw there in the story, China's ambassador to the U.S. had some pretty frank words at the Aspen Forum. What do you make of his message to the attendees there, and what did he convey?
Well, I think Ambassador Qin Gang delivered several key messages to the audience in Aspen. One is that China wants to have peace, not only peace in the world, but also peace in the cross-strait relations involving the two sides of the Taiwan Strait. This is very important, and this should not be construed to be an endorsement of any attempt to promote the so-called Taiwan independence. So peace is a very important part of China's foreign policy. Secondly, I think Qin Gang declares to the audience there that the Cold War mentality is dead. It's not going to work for anyone's benefit. China does not want to have a Cold War, and I don't think any other country, including the United States, want to really promote Cold War because it will be very destructive to people throughout the world. So I think it clarifies China's position in the world, involving lots of key issues, and I hope the American audience will really give heed to what Ambassador Qin Gang said on behalf of the Chinese government.
Yeah, various points of contention between the United States and China on various security policies. Those were discussed, as you mentioned. But U.S. military leaders were at this Aspen Forum as well. Now, this isn't a venue where anything will be solved necessarily, but how important is this conversation and to have this conversation?
Well, first of all, between China and the United States, the more conversations there are, the more dialogue the two sides can engage with each other, the better. Why? Because there is an increasing concern that mistrust is developing or mistrust is being promoted by certain people with hostilities to China. So it's very important for both China and the United States to clarify their real strategic positions, for example, to clarify any mistake in the understanding of each other's fundamental positions, and also to clarify where the red lines are so that no side will misjudge the other side or do any miscalculation. Now, between these two largest economies in the world, this is crucially important. It is not only very important for these two countries, but it also carries global consequences.
Now, here in the U.S., we heard U.S. President Joe Biden say earlier today that he plans to speak with Chinese President Xi Jinping within the next 10 days. What do you think we can look for in that conversation?
Well, I think the fact that President Biden of the United States and the Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to talk on the phone with each other virtually is very important. I think these two countries really need to exercise and demonstrate their statesmanship and their leadership and rallying the Chinese people on the one hand and the American people on the other hand to engage with each other in peace, rather than, for example, create any atmosphere so that the two countries will become more suspicious of each other or even engage in so-called Cold War mentalities against each other. Now, we have great hope for President Biden in really becoming a very wise leader in steering a clear course of action for both China and the United States away from all these obstacles, away from all these minefields, onto land of peace and cooperation between these two countries, rather than confrontation and antagonism against each other.
Victor Gao, chair professor, Soochow University. Always great to see you. Thank you for joining us from Beijing.
Thank you for having me.